Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a very sunny, lovely day in Yorkshire, and here to do a Yorkshire Gamer review on the box opening of Mortem and Gloriam, a new set of rules from a guy called Simon Hall, published by Plastic Soldier Company, and going to have a look through what's in the box when you open it up, touch a little bit on the mechanisms of the game. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm going to do some videos on that later on, but I'll give you a basic idea of how things work, and just generally look at whether this is the way forward here at Yorkshire Gamer for Ancients. Out in front of you, you can see a couple of 28mm Ancient armies. I've had these for a long time and just chipped away and done a unit here and there over the years. They must be 15, maybe even 20 years old, some of these figures. With the backs to the camera is a Republican Roman army in the manipula system. You can see the various constituent units put out there in the checkerboard formation, and in the background with the trees we've got a Carthaginian and Gaul army. Again, I've just chipped away and made bits and pieces of that army over the years. So that's just there as a background. So let's have a look at what's in the box. Okay, so just before we open up, quick disclaimer, Yorkshire Gamer is not a business. We don't make any money, you don't get any commission for doing any reviews on this channel. It's just a gamer in a room on his own at the moment, with waiting for his friends to come back after lockdown, having a look at a set of rules. And just to prove how unbiased we are, Simon Hall comes from the place that should never be mentioned on Yorkshire Gamer, and that is, so there we go. If this isn't the most unbiased video you can get, then what is? So here we go. So let's have a look at the box. We've got Mortem and Gloriam Compedium Edition box set. Nice thick box to open up, and let's have a look what we've got inside. Just put that down there. So straight away we've got a deck of cards. We'll talk a little bit more about these later on. Basically the game is run with, or the commanders are run with these cards. It allows them to do different tasks with their troops, and it depends on how good your general is, how many cards you get, and how good your troops you are, what level of cards you require for them to do an action. So black is the lowest, going through white, green, yellow, and finally red. And there's different numbers of these cards in this deck, which obviously make it less chance of you getting a red card, more chance of you getting an average card. So I'll just put those down there. Lovely little dice bag, so it can go to one side. And then I bought these extra. These are just a set of movement sticks. Everything is done in base widths, just to move these. So it doesn't really matter on how your figures are based and what scale your figures are. My stuff's 28, so this is just a base width for 28 60mm, and this is just two base widths. So if I put that down against that Carthaginian unit there, you can just see, just checking that my pre-cut MDF bases are the right size. Tony at QRF, well done, mate. They're right. So that was just something extra that I bought. That doesn't come in the box set, but I just fancied having those. I'll put those to one side. Next up, bag of dice. They are six-sided, so there's no reason you couldn't work out a system for your own dice, D6, for this to work with these dice. But you can buy these special sets, and I just quite like the look of them, so I went in and got some of these. And these as you can see, are coloured, and they are the colours that we just spoke about when we had a look at the cards. Now the different colour dice, plural of dice probably. Never mind. They will basically it's a hierarchy of chances to hit. So the black dice doesn't have any skulls on them, which is a kill. It has 1 wound and 1 S. S is a special attribute that's given to some units. For example, some phalanx units can shove, they can push ranks back with that S on one of the dice. And then you move up to yellow, and they've got a couple of wounds and an S. And then the yellow dice, you've got your first skull, and so on up to the red dice that have got something on every face. So there you go. And it's really straightforward, the way the rules work. You start on a certain colour based on a range, for example, or troop type, and then you just move up and down the dice colours. So you might start on a green and you might have some colour, so you go down, or you might be better trained, so you go up, move up and down the dice, work out which dice you need to throw it. Easy. Very straightforward. So that's the dice. Very nice, like those. We'll come back to the book. I think that's probably the easiest thing to do. We'll look at the bits and pieces first, and then we'll move them to one side. There's lots of these quick reference sheets. Don't be put off by the size of them. A lot of the stuff is quite straightforward, and a lot of the stuff is army specific as well. So if you're not using elephants and you're not using chariots and you're not using the weird and wonderful stuff, then you're just using close infantry and cavalry. You've already cut 3/4 of that table off straight away. So very well supported here. The pluses and minuses are all quite straightforward, and as I say, we're going to do some gameplay later on. We've got another table for weather. We've got a table for pre-battle stuff. Now, normally, I have to say, I just ignore this because it's kind of gamey and it's kind of competition-y, and that's not what I'm after at all. And these rules do work for that. They also, to me, look as if they'll work quite well for large games that aren't pointed. So this is, I was reading about this last night in the rules, and it's quite a nice little thing where you kind of game through very quickly the 5 days before the battle and the build up, and how good generals can maneuver poorer generals onto more advantageous battlefields for their particular army, and it works extremely well, actually. Just reading through it last night, so that's a little pre-game build up mini campaign, if you like. Pre-battle stuff, again, this is really popular with the competition gamers. Some of it's not normally my cup of tea, but I'll have a good read through it, and like I was with the battle build-up, I might be quite surprised with it. Terrain, nice easy cross-reference table there to just basically pick the important stuff out of the rules to tell you when you can see stuff and cover, etc. And finally, there's another set of quick play rules or quick play systems. So when we were looking at those cards earlier on, for example, your better general gets 5 cards, or so your best general gets 5 cards, down 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you want to advance a drilled unit full ahead, you would need a green card. That's how easy it is. So I quite like that system, and we're going to be gaming with this at some stage in the future. So finally, at the bottom of the box, we've got a plastic bag, and in the plastic bag we have got a couple of very thick cards. nice grass base on the back, and these are just a chip version of the cards. Really, you can push these out and pull them out of a bag. I've probably just realised that dice bag is actually a bag for these, but there we go. Do your reading before your videos, Ken. They're really nice, good stuff. And then a set of markers for wounds and various bits and pieces in the game. All very high quality stuff, all really well made, all good quality feel to it. So we'll come back in a second and we'll have a look at the rulebook. So let's move on to the book itself now. We have got 235-ish pages, hardback, very good quality, as you can see. Nice pictures, decent quality paper, as you kind of expect from these days from modern wargame sets. You know, you look back at some of the rule sets that we had when we were lads, things like this. A5, home printed, stapled, very, very basic, and then 20 years later we're on to this, which is very, very, very impressive. Again, I'm not going to go through the hows, whys and wherefores of it. I'm just going to have a quick flick through. It's nicely laid out, describes the game compositions, the figures and basing. Again, I think it'll work with anything so long as your basing system is consistent. It has 3 different sort of types of game, if you like. It has the Maximus, the Magna and the Pacto. Pacto kind of DBA, if you remember that. Magna, DBM and Maximus, proper gaming, although I'm already thinking of a Grand Maximus style, so watch this space for that. Just allows you to play the same game with more or less figures. Some people, a lot of ancient players, are competition gamers. They have relatively small armies, whereas some other people, like myself, are more figure collectors and like to have massive armies, and sod competitions and sod points, which is basically where I come from. Lots of information about the types of troops and definitions, the pre-battle system that I was talking about, and you can see my lovely entry ticket to the Vatican Museum, keeping where I am up to in the book. Everything is really well laid out. There's lots of examples. This is particularly good, I think, and lots of diagrams basically showing you what is and isn't allowed. Very, very nice. Goes on throughout the book. Some of it's done pictures with figures, and some of it's done as we are here, with sort of pictorial, top-down, computerized representation of units. So very, very good. Goes through everything in extremely good detail. Like it a lot. Lots to read, as you can see. I think the general gameplay is quite straightforward, but with anything that has a competition involved, then you need to go to the far end of a fart, to be perfectly frank, for your rules lawyers out there. So weather and sieges, and then coming to the back, we're looking at competitions. So just to reiterate, I'm not going to even bother reading that because I don't play competitions, and I game for fun, and I don't do points because Alexander the Great never turned up to King Darius and went, "I've got 30,000 points today. What have you got, mate?" Just didn't happen. So I'd rather fight historical scenarios than competition rules. So that, nice of you to do it, Simon, and I'm sure lots of people will be excited with it. I'm not going to bother reading it. we've got all the glossary at the back, and we've got some example army lists in there as well, and then copies of all the quick play sheets in the back. Couple of things to mention here. One is, and very, very nicely as well, I have to say, there's a number of either cut out or print and cut out figures, flat 2D figures at the back, just for you to try the game out. And I really like that. That's a good idea. You could buy this set and not invest in any figures and have a crack at it with these figures and see how you get on. And then if you wanted to invest and spend loads of money on stuff, you could do later on. The rules themselves, I have to say, are extremely well supported. The author has done a number of videos on YouTube just kind of going through the rule mechanisms, and I recommend you watch those. That's what got me interested in it, watching those videos and thinking, yeah, this can work. I like this. So they're worth a look. Also, the website, the Mortem and Gloriam website, has, I think it's 650 army lists now. So if army lists are your thing, and they're definitely not mine, then you can have a read through them. I've enjoyed the fact that they're there, and if I want to see recommended unit sizes and formation types, etc., for the stuff that I've already got, then I could just bob on there and it's all free, and I'm not having to buy another 15 different supplements for various units throughout history. So there we go. There's my review. They cost, I think it's £50 for the competition. Oh, sorry, Compendium edition. I think it's £35 for the rule book, which, from a Yorkshire point of view, is quite expensive. But then I think most rules are that sort of price now, and I just think it's me being tight and not wanting to spend any brass that makes me think that's expensive. So very positive so far. Not read them all the way through yet, not had a game with them yet, but I like the look of them, and we're going to go further with them. So keep your eyes peeled to Yorkshire Gamer, and you'll see some of these rules being used in the near future. Thanks for listening.